Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, the Paranormal Portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by this supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Here we go. I'm sparkly and muted. Thanks, guys. So I can get that fixed. Like I said, it's probably the alien energy in the air. I will get all that straightened out because tonight I'm so excited to have two of what I think are some of the best guests you could possibly have in this genre. Yes, we're going to talk a little bit about aliens and abductions and forensic pattern analysis and so many other things. But first, let me get my guests in here and then I can get my camera fixed because I'm feeling like I'm losing energy as I'm talking here. I'm glad you like the music. I figured it would help set the mood. And I have somebody in here and I'm going to let him come in and introduce our other guest. But I have met this gentleman. He's cracking me up with so many times in the Gettysburg Bash and spoken to him. And I just love his mind and everything he has to say about this. Without further ado, Mr. Tim Conwell, everybody, please welcome him in. And there he is in all his alien glory. Hello. Can you hear me, hon? Yay. Beam me up, Scotty, right? Oh my gosh. This next gentleman, you know pretty well, Tim, and it's lovely having you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come. It seems like, gosh, it was just days ago we were in Gettysburg.
Yeah, it feels like it.
I know. But we've been wanting to do this for a while. So thank you so much for coming on and for getting this next gentleman to join us. I mean, oh my gosh, what a background. Over 40 years working with Honeywell and, the Navy and forensic pattern analysis and so many other things. Can you please introduce this next gentleman? You know him a little, don't you?
Just a little bit.
Bring him on in here.
But, he's my father, and he has, he's been doing this for over 11 years, 12 years, doing the research and doing the books.
Over 5 books now, right?
5 books.
Right.
3 books. There's a full series of a huge map that he just literally went through all the data log and went through all the sightings.
So much research.
Yeah, absolutely. So nonstop it was a year worth, of doing all this.
Amazing.
Putting into like 3 books per series. And then he wrote blogs and, somehow, some way they just ended up in a book. He did some tweaking and stuff like that, but it was all like came out of a book. And then,
what an interesting group of material it is too, everything else. Let's bring him in here. Let's bring him in here, Mr. Tom Conwell, and I thank you so much for coming in. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, it's wonderful. We've been talking about this for a while. You get all caught up when you go to the bash, you go to conventions, you know how that is. Yeah. And, I always had Tim's card and I said the right time when I've got the right stuff to bring you all in here in a fantastic chat that's just filled with questions and everything else. Is it okay if I call you Tom? I have nothing but respect for you. And I just feel like we're losing a little of that respect these days. So
I'm just a regular guy. Just call him.
Me too.
Tom, hey you, whatever.
Me too. Me too.
And
So, is there anything else with that wonderful introduction that your son gave? Is there anything else you'd like the chat to know about you that before we proceed this evening?
um, well, not really. I'm a critical thinker. I like
Hmm.
to think in terms of um, uh, perhaps it can't be so. So let's try to prove that it is so. And that's kind of how I think. So,
Right, right. That's wonderful. And, I always say too, I try to keep an open mind, but not so open that my brains fall out. But I'll tell you what, everybody keeps calling us tinfoil hat wearers and conspiracy theorists and all this other stuff and, alien, blah, blah, blah. Well, that tinfoil hat's kind of turning into a tinfoil crown lately, would straighten it out a little bit and wear it proudly, because we've all here on this panel tonight have had experiences. And I don't know how you guys want to open tonight, but I have the great slideshow that your son sent me pictures of the maps and everything else. But before we get to that, I'd like to know how you guys got started in all this. Now, Tom, did you start first? And then Tim, you got interested, or was it something else and you kind of met further on down on the journey on the road?
yeah. When I retired, I was looking for something to do, and I joined a paranormal team. And very shortly into that paranormal team, I recommended to the guy who was running the team that Tim should also be on the team. And they said fine. They brought him in, and we were off and running. From there, we did a lot of basic investigations on our own. We would be assigned to each other to go out into haunted areas, and we had a lot of fun. We learned from each other, and it was great. Well, very shortly after, they tried to expand out into UFOs, and that's where I came in. I've always been interested in UFOs, so I said, sure, I'd love to look into this. Very shortly after that, Tim grabbed a huge interest in that, and we've been talking ever since about it.
So interesting, isn't it,
Yep.
Tim? I mean, you can't. The conversation never gets old because there's so many layers.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And something. Go ahead, Tim. You go first.
When I jumped into it, I remember I was taking a class in college, was art history.
Okay.
And I started learning like a lot of the Greek paintings and stuff like that. And I think that's when my interest kind of like perked in some ways, because I remember the discussions that him and I would have, but it was not even to the point of like doing the paranormal investigating in it. We would just kind of like talk about it. And then it's like, then I start, when I got involved with everything, I started going back into those paintings and start doing the research. I'm like, that's why I clicked into this. Things that were interesting at that time. Now I know why. So.
And why? Because they're connected, or is it because that in a lot of the old Renaissance paintings, they actually included UFOs in some of these?
Yeah. There's one painting that is in the tundra of the Capitol, and that there's actually like right behind, I believe, George Washington, there's a stairs that's leading up to like a hole. But there were stories back then that I believe they were written down that George Washington actually walked away from his troops to look for guidance and seeing what he needs to do. So that's when I came about the theories or the rigmarole, if you want to call it as that. Was he actually looking for guidance, or was he actually talking about, to aliens for the guidance? So it was just like back and forth, but it was like totally interesting. But there was a lot of I wish I can pronounce their names, Greek paintings that actually had these flying saucers with
Yep.
people, that kind of.
Very interesting. I've often wondered that myself when you look at a lot of those paintings. I'm even, even going into Columbus, said that he saw the lights and he saw, UFOs and all these things. And so many people just poo-poo it and go, well, it can't be real. And that's another reason I did the music in front. We often do that so people can have time to come in and say hi and get settled. We have wonderful mods, and hello to all the gatekeepers and all you wonderful people here tonight and all these wonderful mods that they're going to drop links to the books on Amazon, which you have 5 now, correct, Tom? Is it 5
yes,
still?
5.
Okay, we've got those links, and we're going to talk a lot about the books and where to get more information on this, because this is such a deep conversation. One of the things that Tim and I talked about several times in different over the years in Gettysburg is that we honestly believe that a lot of these things are connected. Are you of the same mind, Tom? Do you think that, like, if you see a UFO, is there other activity and sightings that are kind of sparked in the area, as well as like possibly cryptids or paranormal in any way? Have you found anything like that?
Okay. To spy a UFO, it's kind of a really rare event, and it's not very likely that you're going to have an opportunity to investigate for ghosts or for cryptid at the same time.
Okay.
However, that doesn't mean they aren't happening at the same time, and that people who see strange things in the sky may also be reporting about cryptids also. So,
It's quite possible.
yeah.
Quite possible. Now, the books itself, I'm going to pull up real quick here just to show everybody the covers of the books. And there they are there. If you want to tell a little bit about how they progressed, because I had heard you on another podcast where certain things in your life progressed, and so did the books.
Oh, yeah.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I am now in the process of writing in sequence the events that have happened to me since I joined the paranormal team, and there has been a lot of them. First of all, I started out writing blogs, and the blogs were like a complete series of how we, as people on the earth, could get to where they may happen to be. So we have to solve a whole lot of technical problems, a whole lot of problems in physics, and we have to have a much better understanding of math. So I tried to go through each of these, but make them all super simple. So I started writing the blogs, and the blogs apparently got some attention, and then all of a sudden we were called to a home, and this home complained about aliens being in it, and eventually they started talking about our a ship that they saw that was very, very close. And this ship that they saw that was very close was so close you can almost count the amount of bumps on the bottom of the ship.
Wow.
It was just beyond belief. This particular event happened when I was just beginning to write blogs, and I was still highly involved with the paranormal team. It gave me such a creeped out feeling that someone was watching very closely. So I sort of put my blogs away and finished them later, and went into just writing about some things that I could talk about. So
Mhm.
some of those things that I could talk about was from the National UFO Reporting Center, there were probably at the time 75,000
Mm.
things seen in the sky at that point.
Mm.
And I tried to correlate from where and when they were and see if there were any patterns or whatever else, just so I could have something to talk about.
Mhm.
I was looking to create lectures.
Mhm.
Once I put all this together and realized that each state was interrelated with the next one, um, I had a tremendous amount of information.
Wow.
And I thought, well, at this point, let me put together a book and see what we got. So I cut it off at the East Coast,
Mhm.
and there we have it. They are here, East Coast UFOs, Volume 1. So I looked into just jumping right into Volume 2 to try
Mhm.
to do the Central US. And the very first state that I did, I happened to be born right around that area. Thankfully, I was very familiar with the towns and the cities around there.
Mm.
So
It's
the
helpful. Yeah.
the sightings, I realized that I had done in the first state from the East Coast, which was the state of Pennsylvania. There were a whole bunch of sightings that went right up to the border of Ohio
Mhm.
and right down to the border of Maryland. So, and when I did the first book, there was no correlation between um, the sightings that were seen over the uh, state line
Mhm.
and the ones that were seen on the Pennsylvania side of the state line. So when I started doing Ohio, I realized that there were a tremendous amount of sightings, and it's almost like there was just a big blur of sightings on each side of the um, of the border
Mhm.
of Pennsylvania and Ohio. So I knew at that point I had to do something
Mhm.
different. So what I did that was different was made a map,
Mhm.
and I put a bunch of pins in the map
Would
that
you like me to show
corresponded.
that map, sir?
Sure, you can do that.
I mean, I don't want to hit it too early. I'm
No,
not sure. I don't want to mess up your flow. There
there
it
we
is,
go.
right there.
Yeah. So
Wow, look at that.
it's unbelievable. It took
Mhm.
me a year to do this map, by the way.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
once I realized what I had with volume 2, that there were blobs of sightings around certain areas, then I knew that I was seeing huge patterns, all
Right.
kinds of patterns everywhere.
Mhm.
Um, so Pennsylvania is a kind of a light bluish color, and
Mhm.
once you get into Ohio, which is just to the west of that, there were so many sightings, so many pins that I really wish that I could uh, describe what I was seeing. Uh,
Mm. And
the
each one means something different here, correct? Like I'm looking at the map key, and each one is a little bit different. So,
Yeah, what I did, there were probably 50 different things seen in the sky,
uh-huh.
and so what I did was uh, I took chunks of these and combined them
Okay.
because they were similar to
Mhm.
each other, like an egg and a sphere, right? Well,
Right.
they're sort of roundish and sort of similar. So I put them in one type of sighting,
Okay.
and so where I had spheres, that was all inclusive.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other colors were black for fireballs and yellow for triangles. And
Okay.
now it just so happens that there were a total of 7 different types of things seen. And I could not um, put all those pins on one map.
Right.
It was just impossible. So I had to break it off somewhere, and I broke it off at the three you see:
Mm-hmm.
yellow, red, and black.
Okay.
Um,
And we have here black is fireballs. Is that correct? And the
Fireballs. Yep.
red is spheres. So that
Mhm.
would be. Are we talking like a
Oval
round?
shape.
Okay, so that type of shape, and then you have the yellow is the triangles. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Well, it gets worse as it goes west.
Okay.
Even though it looked like that there were great big open areas. Well, there
Okay.
are great big open areas because there's not a whole lot of houses between the cities.
Mm-hmm.
But the unfortunate thing about it is the amount of people within those cities that were seeing things was a whole lot greater than I could put my finger on.
Mm-hmm.
So when I had red, yellow, and black in four areas in on the West Coast, um, these four areas on the West Coast, I had to create three different colors,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the three colors don't equal 20 sightings like they did on the East Coast. The three colors equal 100 sightings.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a
So
huge jump. So
there's just
so much
many
more.
pins
Mm-hmm.
that it just boggled my mind. It just boggled my mind.
I have a question, if you don't mind. I don't know if
Oh,
you
sure.
mind taking questions from the chat, but Polo 7787 is asking, why do you think the majority are more towards the East Coast? But I think you may have just answered that.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is there actually similar, like you
No.
said?
The East Coast is loaded with population, even between cities.
Okay.
For instance, if you were to go from Boston to Washington, D.C.,
Right.
down US 1, you drive from one city into another city, out of that one city into yet another city. It's just one great big batch of cities, one
Wow.
after the other, after the other.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's true for great portions of the East, including around the Great Lakes, and including as you go south along US 1 and down the interstates to where the larger cities are sprinkled. Yet when you go out west, you have a large city that's sprawling, of course, but once you get out of that city, it's just
Mm-hmm.
dirt and nothing there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get huge quantities of sightings
Yeah.
in the East, but not in the West.
Makes perfect sense. Now, Tim, what did you think when he was okay, when he was doing all this? What, in your mind, in the way you were looking at things, how did that connect in for you? Was this?
Well, I remember he started doing in the middle of the United States before he went to the eastern side.
Okay.
And I actually found pictures of, sporadic things that I was taking photos of, just eastern. And it's still, I recall that my mouth just kept dropping, and I think I had maybe a few weeks of pictures, and the difference of each time I would go in and it would be just changing the dramatic stuff. And then I think I was speechless for him for at least 2 hours because I'd be shaking my head. He's like, "You have no idea I'm doing this." And but I look at it for 5 or 6 hours when I'm here hanging out with you, but I'm seeing it. And it's just like, now I really, really wish I took a camera, and when he would go in and start doing this, it'll be a time lapse. I really wish I did that.
Yeah,
Right.
That would have been neat.
Oh yeah,
that would have been cool.
The understanding of what I saw from state to state to state to state, and he didn't jump. He stayed in one state, focused on it, and then went to another state and focused on it. And
Yeah.
it's just like, he's like, you have no idea. And I'm going, I'm looking at it and I'm just dumbfounded. Like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of overwhelming to see it like that. Anything that you have that's tangible, visual that you can see, it really puts things in perspective. Now, Corey is asking something about the Fort Sill sphere sighting. I'm sure if it was a sighting, it's more than likely on this map. Is that correct? Or do you know which
Not
sighting?
necessarily. No.
Okay.
Someone
Okay.
has to report the sighting to the National UFO Reporting Center before I happen to have seen it, and I happen to have put a pin in the map.
Okay, that makes
And
perfect sense.
and that map is only between 2011 to 2015.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not like from 1903 to the
all the way
present.
through.
No.
It's
No,
wow.
it's just a little tiny window. There were
Wow.
just so many sightings, I couldn't put them all on the map.
Okay, that's totally understandable, but that makes a lot of sense. Donnie Cho is now in the house, folks. This is his. Donnie is aliens, it just absolutely loves UFOs and everything about it. We were hoping he wasn't going to make it, but he has entered the building and he's here and we're good to go. We can start now. But see, that's really it. When you look at the map and then understand, it's overwhelming just to look at it and think. I don't know what your mind thinks, like how far back does it go? How far does it entail, like you just said? But to realize it's only really a very small chunk of time. And there's that many. That's impressive.
And what gets me is when the government releases, oh, we'll look into it. I remember I looked at him and went, we'll look into it. What about that map? We'll look into it. He goes, exactly. So
yeah, there's so much going on too. And when you start getting into paranormal investigation as well, and I am of the belief that so many of these things are connected, energy and everything else, and whether you're having that kind of energetic situation. I heard you talk, Tom, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping around, but I have to get this. You were discussing about there's close encounters of the fifth kind. And you were just, there it is. And I wondered if you'd tell us a little bit about that. But before you answer, if you don't mind, I have another question before I lose it up here in the chat. It was something about, what do you think about the aliens who look like people? But I think you kind of will answer that telling us a little bit about this, would you not? A lot of people don't understand that aliens are so many different groups.
Yeah.
So many different groups. There's not an alien like our little dancer in the beginning that looks like a little green man from Mars, or just the Greys. I mean, from the praying mantis to Palladians to all these different, however you name. And I've always believed that it's not just one group and everybody's the same. It's multiple. Yeah. What do you think?
Let me just throw out some numbers.
Sure.
Within the Milky Way galaxy, there's probably 200 billion stars.
Mm-hmm.
Around each star, there's probably 3 or 4 chunks that could be considered planets. Most of the stars would have an area around them that if a planet happened to exist there and there happened to be some water, it would be liquid. So this is where life is going to be found, okay? Mm-hmm. Where water is liquid. And then that's just within our galaxy. Mm-hmm. In virtually every star that we're looking at closely within our galaxy, we're discovering up to 5 or 6 planets. Well, it makes for a whole lot of opportunity for a chance of life to be there. Now, that's just our galaxy. Mm-hmm. There's probably 2 trillion galaxies. Mm-hmm. That's a 2 with 12 zeros after it.
Mhm.
And in each galaxy, there's probably an average of 200 billion planets within each galaxy. So if you were to look at that, then um, there are most likely 10 to the 22nd, or a 1 with 22 zeros, um, stars that have planets around them.
Mm.
That
That's
makes
a
for
lot
a
of pins, Tom.
whole lot of planets. Yeah, a
That's a lot of
whole
pins,
lot.
I
babe.
don't think they
Yeah,
make pins like that.
yeah.
Isn't that true? Or, what a terrible waste of space. I've always thought it was very arrogant to think that we're the only beings that are alive on this planet. I always thought that was absolutely ludicrous to believe. And I also, like I said, I don't think that they're all the same. If there's a group, then there's probably good and bad within that too, just like us humans. We're not all the same. We're similar, but
It's
we're not the
logical,
same.
sure.
It's absolutely logical.
Yeah.
So would you like to tell us a little bit about the close encounters of the fifth kind, and what does that mean? It's almost we're getting into the telepathic kind of realm of the whole thing when we're talking about that, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Now, there's close encounters of the first kind, second, third, and fourth, and there's people have made up a whole lot of other things beyond that. What
Okay.
CE5, close encounters of the fifth kind, happens to relate to is is a uh, is a protocol set forth where you get a bunch of people who are um, uh, who are concentrating on the fact that they want to have contact, and this particular group happens to because of everyone thinking of the same thing at the same time, they seem to have uh, great luck in bringing ships forward. Now, in one of the things that has happened to me, um, I have been getting up, awakened at 3 a.m. And I don't mean, some days 3:45 and next
Hmm.
day 2:50. I mean 3:01,
Wow.
like regular, and being awakened with thoughts in my mind that did not seem to be mine. That's about the only way I could explain it. Now, um, I remember having a conversation with someone who runs these encounters, uh, these get-togethers, where they are meditating and trying to call up ships. And I had that foremost in my mind, and I've been struggling with that, trying to figure it out. And I heard this voice clear in my head, um, and that voice was, "There's no need for a group, Tom. Just ask us."
Nice.
I was like, "Whoa, okay. Well, who's us?" Okay,
Hmm.
I mean, this was relatively new, and I didn't really know what to do with it. So at that point, every night I'd go to bed and I'd ask for um, to see a UFO, a
Hmm.
contact somehow. And at the very end of the first book that I published, They Are Here, Volume One. Um, Matter of fact, at the very end, it was the night before I was sending the file in for download. The night before is when I saw my first sighting, and there were 9 ships in the sky. These
Wow.
happened to be fireballs.
Okay.
Um,
Explain fireball if you could. I love the
okay,
way you described that.
yeah. If you were to have a a meteor enter the um, environment, the atmosphere of the Earth, It would go through the atmosphere, start to heat up, start to burn, and there would be fire coming within the meteor itself, and all kinds of debris coming off the back end of it.
Okay.
That's what meteors do.
with
Okay,
a long tail.
with a long tail.
Okay.
Frequently, the ones that blow up in the sky are called. I'll just do a blank. They're called bolides. Bollides, and
Okay.
they blow up into little bitsy pieces that are still traveling at their 40,000 miles per hour, and they burn up instantly.
Mhm.
Now, that is a meteor sighting. What a fireball! Oh, and by the way, people also call meteors fireballs
Okay.
because they look like they're a ball of fire. Okay.
Mhm.
But this is a little different.
Okay.
There is a ball of fire, and it really does look like it's on fire. You ever see the Yule log
Yes.
on cable? Yeah.
Yes.
And you see the fires just keep constantly regenerating the same way.
Mhm.
Well, that's what a fireball looks like,
Okay.
except it moves across the sky, da 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 da, real slow.
Okay.
Not like a meteor. Okay.
Okay.
It's not traveling at 5,000 miles an hour at that point.
Mhm.
It's moving real slow.
Okay.
And these happen to be seen in and around where there's water. So alongside the coastlines, near lakes, sometimes in and around rivers, and almost always in and around the Great Lakes.
Wow.
So that's a fireball.
Okay.
And I asked to see something. I didn't know what I was going to see, so I
Okay.
saw the fireball, and I put that in my first book, in the very beginning, the intro, and I didn't think much of it. Said I sure would like to see another one. I'd, say that regularly. I started writing book 2, and writing, and I got to the very end. This was about I was on a trip, so this was about a week before I was ready to send the book in for download,
Okay.
and I'm looking out over a lake. It was Lake Winnipesaukee in New Hampshire. Gorgeous place. I'm just beautiful. And I'm just looking out over this lake and just staring out in the lake. And I heard, "Look up." So I looked up, and just then there was this bright red flash across the sky. And
Wow.
from generally the center of this came this white streak that went straight out and disappeared out farther than the eye could see. And that whole thing took about a second and a half.
Mhm. And this whole thing came with, like, out of the correlation of you saying, "I would like to see another one," just basically sending telepathic messages out and hearing at least some response back, like look up, or you don't have to ask, or you don't need a group, just ask us.
Yes.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the third book came along, and something like that happened. It was about 3 days before I was ready to close out the book. And I was going into work that morning. Now, I had already been retired, but I was helping out at work a little bit. And I drove across the Hudson River, and I was ready to turn left down onto Interstate 787. And just as I crossed the river, I looked out, and there was this bright red light. I don't know what else to call it. A bright red light that I thought was way out on the horizon, because all up and down the Hudson River, there's these huge towers, and by law they had to put large red lights on top of them.
Right,
And
right.
I thought that's what I was seeing. Well, as I approached it, this this light came zipping right at my car.
Mm.
But it just didn't just come straight into the car. It was going in a what's called a sinusoidal way, up
Okay.
and down. It's like a sine wave. And it
Right,
was
right.
coming right at my car, just like a sine wave would. And just before it hit the windshield, it took off and up and was gone.
Wow.
It's like, what the hell was that? You know?
Right. Yeah,
I had
especially when
no
you're
idea
driving.
what that was. And I put that one in the third book. Well, I stopped asking. Look, stop. I stopped asking for sightings because I thought I had seen pretty much all I was going to see at that point. And I started asking for a visitation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Okay. Now, Tim, had you seen at this point, had you had any experiences with, other than the paintings and being drawn back and trying to connect that with UFOs or what you would consider something unidentified flying or an alien encounter or anything like that up to this point?
Yes. I can't remember how old I am. I still question it, but I'm not. I've looked in the sky in this area multiple times. I think it was probably about younger than like 15, 16. I think that's when the eclipse was coming in or something like that. And I grabbed his telescope and went outside and took a look. I remember seeing a light over up the street from our house where I grew up. And it's just right through the trees. Now I look at it and I'm going, well, it can't be a helicopter. It wasn't moving. You know, it stayed as is, you know, that kind of thing. So I still question that because I can't remember the whole detail. All I remember is it was high up in the air. There's no second floor where I would actually be looking at, and it's through the trees. So I don't know. But then I can't remember. I think it was what, 2017 maybe? I saw something. I was driving to work. It was probably 7:30, 7:45 kind of thing on the main highway out in Albany. And I was probably not even a mile away. And I'm looking at this thing that's on the left side of the street in the air. And I'm like, what is this? So my eye was attracted to this little spot. And I kept driving, you know, middle lane, 55, 60 miles an hour. And I'm having cars still, you know, passing me. When I got to maybe 30 feet close to it, something was telling me, you're fine. You're, you know, just hold on the steering wheel. Just keep looking at this. You're fine.
You're fine.
And I'm going, yeah, okay. Like, interesting.
I don't feel fine.
Right.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
The road was pretty straight, very not much of a turn, so it was pretty straight. So I'm, you know, holding the steering wheel as tight as possible, keeping it straight. But I'm looking at the road at this thing, and I'm keep looking at it. But the thing is, it's slowly going across the street on a slow pace. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm going, this is just too odd. This is not a drone. It's not a plane, not a helicopter. And it's still pacing itself nice and, you know, slowly kind of thing. And I'm going, okay, now what is this? And I'm getting closer, and it's telling me again, you're fine. Keep watching me. You're fine. And I'm going, oh, yeah, okay. You know, I'm still going 60 miles an hour, and I'm looking at my right, looking at my left. I'm like, I can't stop. I can't pull over. Like, if I hit my brakes, I'm done, you know, kind of thing. I'm like, well, let's just trust my gut now and just believe in myself.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'm taking that black magic ball and shaking it, going, should
Yeah.
I get hit? Should I
Yeah.
stop?
Yeah.
But I'm still looking at this thing, and it's going across the street, nice and slow, probably about 30 feet up in the air, 40 feet, give or take. And it's just going across the street. But now I'm almost right above it, and I went under a bridge, and it's still there. I'm like, okay, so I'm not seeing anything. So I start going through the ideas for me of what could this be, kind of thing. So I'm going to the skeptical side, right on top of this, because I'm getting closer.
Were you hearing anything other than
Nothing.
you're fine? You're not hearing,
Nope.
Okay.
Because I turned down the radio, and that's all I'm hearing. Me, myself, and I. And
Right.
Yeah. So I started going through the aspect of, do I see a blinking light? Do I see
No,
color?
Salvador, no. I'm sorry, I'm getting asked. No, Salvador, there's no video, honey.
No.
No, we don't have video. We're just recollected. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So is there wings? Is there propellers? Is there colors? Is there windows? Is that blinking light there? Then I'm thinking also, someone told me speed. Okay, well, it's going slow as anything. There's no blinking light. There's no color. I don't see windows. I don't see this. I don't see this. And I'm going through these 5 as fast as I can, figuring out what is going on. But as I'm going through it, I'm still watching this thing. On my far right now, it turns. And I'm going, what? So as it turns, it blends right into the sky. And I'm still looking at this thing. Yep, it just a full,
right.
It blends right in. Now I'm seeing blue, and I'm seeing clouds. I'm like, no, this can't be. No. I'm looking at it. I'm still seeing you right there, kind of thing. How is it still there, but I'm seeing a blue sky and clouds? I'm like, don't tell me this is now reflecting what the sky is looking at. And I'm going, okay, I'm still going 60 miles an hour. Now I have to hit a turn, because it just, gradually moves over to the left and goes to the right again. And I'm going, something's wrong with this picture. So as I'm still shaking my head, still driving, I can't pull over to go take a look at this thing. So I'm still pondering this whole scenario, still going through that 5. I still have that picture brained into my mind of what this thing looks like. And I was like, you know what? I need an aspect. I can't do this anymore. I called him up, Dad, and I was like, look, I saw this. He goes, can you draw a picture of it? And I'm like, yes. But I went through all these 5, and I'm still going through, and he's going, you're fine. Just get to the office, and draw me a picture. I was like, okay. So I went, and probably about, 15 minutes later, I ran right to my desk, grabbed a pen, grabbed a paper, and I sat there and draw the whole thing, sent it to him. He goes, you just saw a teardrop shape. Because it was literally a teardrop.
Wow. That's an unusual one too, or maybe it's just me, because I'm not well versed in this genre, as all of us. I'm learning as we go. I just kind of have that big picture, of what I believe at this time with my consciousness, and the things that I've learned up to this point was basically, I don't know anything. I just believe that there's got to be so much out there, and I do believe that they reach in maybe to contact people with a consciousness that's able to handle it at this time. I think maybe to download information, maybe to help heal certain individuals. Maybe they're connected in a bloodline or reincarnation, or honestly, in a lot of ways, they might very well be us from the future coming back in certain aspects. I'm open to all of that. What fascinates me is the telepathic. We know that in my case, what I do understand a little bit more is the ghost aspect and paranormal, and their ability to interact with us telepathically like that. It seems like higher ascended beings can do this, whether it be, ghosts visiting that have already crossed, to certain entities like Bigfoot. I personally believe have that ability, that telepathic. Tom, you've been getting an awful lot of contact messages that way. I believe you call it either not lucid dreaming, but awake dreaming, like daydreaming kind of, and also in your dreams. Would you like to tell us about that? Because I believe that they're contacting you via your consciousness at that time. What our bodies are like, just like a lot of spirits do. I think that's so interesting. Tell me.
Sure. Okay. I had 2 dreams that I would have considered waking dreams, or ones that I thought that I was totally awake during, but of course I wasn't. But there was this one, the first dream that occurred. I found myself walking down a path. It was the fall, and I was walking down a path, and it was the fall because there were leaves everywhere, and I could feel my feet touching the leaves and feeling the dew on the leaves, and they were sticking to my feet. So I knew it was a dream at that point, because I would never go outside without shoes and socks on. Okay. but I found myself walking down this path, and all of a sudden I came around a corner, and there was this ship right there, and outside of the ship was a person made of light. They're just so bright you couldn't tell that there was anybody inside of it, but they spoke to me. Okay, so
did it feel like, when I heard you say this before, I thought in my head, was it light, almost like the figure, like you would almost like imagine, like, say, a vague figure of a woman's figure, like old Coke bottles? So it was like a figure like that, or was it more distinct? Did you actually see features and things of a person in the light?
No, because I couldn't look at it. It was so bright.
I understand. That makes sense. That makes sense. Yes.
So they told me that they needed my help. And I said, what for? Well, actually, he told me, I assume it was a he, told me that he needed my help. He needed me to heal his shipmate who was on the ship and was ill.
Okay.
So I went, okay, how am I going to do that? They said, we just need to borrow your energy. So why don't you come onto the ship, and all you need to do is stand next to him, and they will, they'll take your energy as needed, heal themselves, and then we'll get on our way. So this ship, by the way, was only about 6 feet tall, and that included the tripod that it was sitting on. And a little
Excuse me 1 second, I got a question for you, because it's an interesting question. Was it an audible voice, or was it in your head, like we said, like it's hard to tell? It's hard to tell. Okay, there you go, Blue.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Remember, he was asleep too.
Right.
Yeah. So they didn't have a very large door, but I sort of fit myself through the door. And when I stood up inside of it, the thing was like an amphitheater. It was like the biggest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I had no idea how they did that.
That's incredible.
It was just a great big thing. So they, the guy that was outside directed me over to his partner, and I stood there, and he borrowed my energy, and he said, after a very short time, That's all I needed. I'm completely healed. I want to thank you very much. You can leave now.
Mm-hmm.
So I left and started walking back down the path, and I woke up in bed. The very first thing I did was I reached down on my feet to see if there were any leaves attached.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
Yeah.
I was walking through wet leaves.
Because it was a conscious thing to you too. It's also like a conscious thing for reality. It's almost, when you said that, it also it reminded me of It's a Wonderful Life with Zuzu's petals. When he looked to check to see if the petals were there, and he had them, and that kind of made it right for him. But again, when I heard you telling that story before, I was also wondering if we often think these things are dreams, much like in the paranormal world too. We said in the beginning, a lot of these things overlap and are very similar, or very well may be connected. So another similarity to me is when spirit tries to communicate. Say your grandmother passes, and you have what you feel is a dream, or a waking dream, or a visitation dream, and it seems so real, and they want to give you a message. And then when you wake up, you're like, something was so different there. It was brighter. It was more, they say lucid dreaming, but it's bigger than that. And you just know it was something more. And Tom, I think that was something more. And I honestly believe that they were giving you things at your conscious mind at the time and your level of thinking. I mean, working with the things you've worked through and the technical things that you've done all your life, I feel like they can almost like give you a little bit more, if you know what I mean, then somebody would still have to work their way up to that understanding and then go. Maybe
there's more to
testing
that story
you
too.
But also I believe in, we'll absolutely get to it, testing you to see, okay, would he just give himself his energy freely without a lot of question, understanding that this is a good thing and it wouldn't be of harm? Do you see what I mean? Little tests like that.
Oh yeah.
And I just think it was so much bigger. And I think you're getting downloads. I really do. I think, a lot of people are. We're just not ready to understand them yet, but continue, please.
Okay. I remember after I woke up, saying to myself, what the hell was that all about? I mean, it made no sense.
Right.
I'm standing there. I don't know how to give anybody my energy. And they show me all I have to do is stand there, and I don't really have to do anything, and I can heal people. Well, it didn't occur to me that that's what they were telling me until about 3 weeks ago. One of my friends who runs a group, what's the name of that group? Oh crap! It is boy, oh boy.
It's okay. As soon as you stop thinking of it, it'll pop in your head.
Yeah, I know.
All the time. Well, here, maybe if you answer this question real quick, have you read, Be Kind wants to know, Dolores Cannon's book, The 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth? She's basically talking about what you're describing as far as the healing. And I think it also is testing our willingness to help freely, one energy to another. I'm hearing a lot of these. You're not the only one. It's amazing. Okay.
Okay. Anyhow, the group is called the Lightworkers Lounge.
Ah, very good. Sounds like this place.
It's just wonderful. But she described something that one of the people that she contacted said that they were going to do an operation on her, and they were going to take stem cells out of her spine and give them to somebody else, and it's going to heal them.
Wow.
And she balked at it initially, and it was she was scared of having an operation because she didn't know what it was all about, So she realized at the very end that they were trying to tell her how easy it was for us as humans, I guess, to do simple things and heal others around us.
Amazing.
Then the light went off in my mind. That's what they were trying to tell me, how easy it was for us to help others.
Bingo. Bingo.
It was just remarkable. It really was.
It is. It really is. And that's the thing too. And I'm sorry to keep interrupting you. I don't mean to, but I'm also seeing this overlapping, like I said, with the paranormal, where we're hearing a lot from spirit right now, coming through mediums and psychics in different places, different sources, resources everywhere, that are kind of converging at this point in time, and not just trying to help the living not mess up the way they did. Like, say, if it was someone who passed from an OD, or somebody that died in a crime that was selling drugs, maybe coming back to help that person that might be getting ready to go down that road and go, no, no, no. And it's also helping them via energy. We're also hearing what you're describing is people being able to use their energy, nothing new, like say through Reiki or handshakers in Native American and Cherokee and some other, all this different stuff. But I think we've forgotten a lot of that stuff. We were just talking about the old granny witches from the Appalachians, that use that as a loving term, because they were able to heal through herbs and through other wavelengths, let's say, like frequencies and stuff. So I think what they're trying to do is wake us up.
What?
I said, Tim, that's Holly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holly.
Okay. But Holly Mullen.
Mm-hmm. Is she a handshaker or a healer or a Reiki or?
She's a lot of things.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are waking up again to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's amazing that they're reaching out to you to show you that message, that all you have to do, it's not so much them saying all you have to do is stand there. It's more like really all you have to do is will it, and want it, that kind of thing. It's amazing. Please continue.
Yeah. Well, that was the first time that something really crystal clear like that happened to me. Mm-hmm. The next event, I was laying in bed and I was aware that two people had just walked into my bedroom. They were Native Americans. Mm-hmm. Well, they were dressed like Plains Indians, with the
buckskin,
regalia, little skins and paint and whatever else they were. But these two people walked up to me while I was laying in bed. At least I thought that's where I was. And each one of them put their hands out and touched me on my chest. And I felt this huge
burst,
jolt of electricity. And then noticed that I was levitating. And then I woke up. Well, once I woke up, I tried thinking through this. Well, where I was laying down, they could have come on my left side, but they couldn't have walked up to me on my right side because we had a queen size bed. So where was I?
Right.
Was I somewhere else, or was this just some random dream they gave me?
Do you think, Tom, that these could possibly be some kind of very quick abductions that maybe have some kind of, I'm wondering if you've had any time, lost any time. Tim, did you, when you were driving, did you lose time? Was all time was like as it felt like as it should be?
I think it slowed down.
Okay.
If I can really recall, because of I kept looking at it and kept driving, but also paying attention to the road. So I think it kind of gave me the actual time to actually watch it go from the left side of the street to the right side. And I think there's 3 lanes. Yeah, there's 3 lanes on both. So, and there's a middle little lane or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So it gave me the direction to watch it go
like a
all the way
time
up.
drag, almost like a,
Right.
not so much like a slow motion, but more like a time drag. That
I
makes
think
sense.
so, yeah, in a way, yeah.
It makes sense. And I believe also, from what I'm picking up again from supernatural paranormal, these type of experiences are amping up, more
Mhm.
so like Tom is describing in either wake dreaming or lucid dreams while sleeping. And it's going on globally. I'm hearing the same thing where it's not just visitations, from, loved ones that have passed or saying their last goodbyes and stuff like that. This is all different. It's, different types of aliens or light beings. There's no fear. Whereas, you would have with like say a shadow figure or somebody, scary showing up or something like that. It's more like you're almost waking up and understanding what's happening, and your consciousness is just, full tilt boogie. You're just absorbing all this information. And I think it's funny because I think our minds, even with regular dreams, say you had just a regular nightmare, some kind of crazy thing where you're running and something's chasing you, or you try to hit it and it's like you're punching under water. You can't quite get anything behind it, and that's frightening to you, or you're being chased by a teapot or some kind of crazy mess. And we wake up and we try to understand that. And I think those are just fragmentation, dreams or whatever. But when we have something this lucid, I think our minds try to remember it, but it can't quite wrap around what actually happened, and we try to make it make sense. Like Tom, where he's trying to see if the leaves are at the bottom of your feet. I must be dreaming because I'd never be outside without shoes and socks. But he's getting all of this massive amounts of information in a short amount of time, where all you have to do is stand and will it to be that I can use your energy. Again, very similar to giving permission for somebody to read your energy or to use your energy in a healing situation. Very similar. And it's almost like they're trying to tap us on the shoulder and go, wake up. Your consciousness has been suppressed or subdued somehow. Do you guys see anything like that happening, or connections in other situations coming to you guys? It's hard.
No, yeah, I don't think I could answer in the affirmative for that.
I've heard stories.
These things were so weird to me that I couldn't put my finger on what was actually happening to me. So I had nothing for it. I just had nothing.
Right, but they kept happening. Yeah, and and still through. But again, I believe that, I forget the exact quote, where it's like, God doesn't, pick winners. He takes losers and makes them winners, or, I'm sure it's much more eloquent than that. But what I mean is, none of us are ready, but there must be something that higher, more intelligent beings, whether that be whatever you look at it for. It might be, if you're looking at the paranormal, it might be spirit guides or your guardian angels or whatever it may be, to these beings that I think some are here to maybe help or guide or help wake us up to our own abilities, and quite possibly others that maybe aren't so have our best interest in mind, both. But it seems to me you guys have come in contact with mostly benevolent beings, right? Or what did you want to say, Tim?
I mean, with me, I'm a sensitive and a empath. I do have other abilities that I'm trying to focus on to, get those, come out. And I'm struggling on that. But, I know there's a path for me. So I think with me, I think my guides are coming in and saying, "Hey, nitwit, pay attention." I'm going to start throwing things at you and start awakening you, because I see it in times of when I'm dreaming. I've astral projected, I don't know how many times, and I would go back and for example, I had friends that were investigating at a location, And I'm going, wait, why do I see this, 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 this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I would, you know, send a message to one of my friends and go, look, was this person in your group? Because I didn't see no live feeds, no nothing, no pictures, wearing this color jacket or this color shirt, blah, 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 hair like this, there like that. And they're like, yeah. I'm going, what?
Yeah, getting flashes.
You know, how would I know this? So I've been trying to drill myself to start paying attention a lot more. And I know a lot of psychics are in the way of like saying, you know, this stuff is happening, you know, start paying attention. So like when I'm going to conventions, I'm telling people like, if you're seeing things, you need to start paying attention. Besides of what you just saw, there's other things that are coming around you. Like things are being put in certain areas. Things are being told to you that somehow in probably 2 weeks, you're going to get a slap in the face going, oh, that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of, so it's like guides are now, and with all the moons that are happening in the last about 5 years or 4 years, a lot of awakenings people are having now. So, I mean, some people are still going to be blinded that they don't want to see what they see. That's fine, whatever the case may be. But I think it's the people that are now getting open that the sky is the limit in so many different aspects. And from the people that I talk to every once in a while, from just a little guidance and, you know, aspects, they're going, Tim, you're going to get a lot more. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. But you know, why am I getting this now? To the point I didn't get it when I was a kid. And I asked
because your consciousness is being, it's just like we say on this show. One of the things that I say on this show all the time is enjoy the journey. Each journey is different. We're all, you know, I've had elders, Native American elders tell me, you know, I don't know why we all get all caught up in what road we're going to take. We all go to the same space. We're all from the same energy, from the same space, going back to energy. This is what they're explaining. Meanwhile, while we're here, there's so many important things we're here to do, is how I feel at this point. But I also believe, because I've been on battlefields with others who can, you know, say has more visual ability, where they can see more of the spirit or the other side, or interdimensionals and portals and things like this. Well, we're on the battlefield trying to help a soldier who's just happens to have been dead for 150 some odd years and is willing to listen at this point, this moment in time. There are usually other entities standing around, either helping or hoping that we don't, which is the more negative ones. And usually with the ones that are trying to help, whether it be an ethereal being, the way you would explain what maybe say an angel would look like, or some like a person of light, like Tom explained earlier, even, but with features and such, there are what we would consider alien looking beings with them as well. And we figure, why not? You know, good is good, bad is bad. And then there's all the stuff in the middle. And I just believe that this time right now, there are many people, whether you want to say reincarnated for this time and volunteered to come in and go, I want to be a light worker, I'll go, you know, or that kind of thing. I just believe that there's those kind of things. And I also believe it also has to do with bloodlines and stuff too. I mean, look at you and your family. Now, is anybody else in your family, you don't have to say their name, interested in this subject? Is it just you guys primarily in your, you know, close family members?
Yes, are interested. I mean, what I can tell from what I've talked to them, they're interested. I wouldn't say completely open-minded, but they do have a interest. I mean, Dad, you can correct me, but I know there's a few of them that were like, I don't want to hear anything about it.
Right, right.
So it's a 50-50 gamble. I trying to point them out to, I know this one doesn't have any idea.
Right,
you know,
right.
You know, that kind of thing. So,
but you also, that's commonplace though. And the reason I ask this is you probably wouldn't, you know, even though I have a lot of open-minded people in my family, it seems to pick one or two you know, out of a thing, whether it's bloodline thing or not. You know, I mean, we always talk about the so-called evil people who have like a bloodline thing, and it goes way back, and it's connected to this one, this one, this one. They're not the only ones with bloodlines, folks. You know, there's a lot of people who are good, that are inherently good, trying to use their minds to understand, like Tom, you know, his, you know, high mathematical skills, and you know, a deductive reasoning, and you know, all your cognitive stuff is just, you know, just through the roof, right? And that's what good, you know, like look at Sherlock Holmes, right? Same thing. It's just a certain type of minds, and you're able to get there first, and then kind of almost backtrack to see how this fits, and you go at it with that kind of analytical mind. Then there's other people who the simpler stuff that, you know, the real woo that you might have kind of struggled with became simple to other people, but we struggle with the math and the analytical and the physics of it, you know. But you need the whole thing, just like a good paranormal team needs the whole thing. You need the guy with the tech, and you need the person with the heart and the intuition. And I think that's another thing that they're almost like they're coming back to say, like maybe making, not so much as making their own teams, but when people are ready and their consciousness is ready to handle a little more on their journey, their minds, you get a little tap on the shoulder, Tom, you know, a dream. Like, wait till you get a load of this one. You know, we're going to give you some things that your mind's going to be able to work with the leaves, or with, you know, helping this man who needed a little of your energy. And you don't have any fear, Tom, that they're there to hurt you. You actually just want more of a communication, a freer communication with them. Am I right in saying that?
Exactly. That's all I asked for.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how about you, Tim? Same thing, right? Similar.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you guys are of the mind that if somebody came in and said, all right, Bigfoot is possibly able to vibrate on a higher frequency and maybe move in and out of portals, would you just completely throw that out, or would you consider that as a possibility?
With the stuff that I know, it's there. We just need to prove it.
There it is. Yeah. And see, this is the reason I asked that question, is because so many people get stuck on species, and, you know, with, all right, saying this, let's just use ghosts as a thing. I've been doing this 50 years with ghosts, trying to understand ghosts. And again, I know nothing. So, but when I get to you have familiar conversations with people who you can kind of say, all right, well, you know, I believe that what's opening your cabinets and slamming your cabinet doors, and with my intuition and what we've studied and what we've looked into and the history, due diligence, I believe that this is not an evil presence. This is more of somebody, a ghost who understands it can do this, and you pay attention. And this is where my mind is right now. Okay. So basically looking at ghosts, saying that, and then somebody at the table going, well, ghosts can't do that. Ghosts can't choose that. This is what kills me, because they put everything in a box. Everything has to fit an exact box. How do you know ghosts can't do that? Because the last 3 that you've had an encounter with maybe banged on a table or did this. And I've been in a room with them where they could present themselves 3 different ways to 3 different people.
A friend of mine has been
at the same time
with me.
Yes. Yes.
Because he found some item that from his grandmother that was in a box in his closet, and somehow it ended up on his floor. And I was like, all I can tell you, I'm going to say that he came or she came out just to say, yes, I'm here, that kind of thing. And he's still trying to process this whole scenario of what could be, because this is physics. This is this. This is trust me. It's the aspect of, yes, we don't know this, but the only way that maybe keys were taking, or, and move from one spot to the next, it's maybe a family member is trying to play tricks on you, or the
Apporting.
spirit has power somehow,
Apporting.
and he's just figuring out to move it. You know, that or saying, yes, I'm here. Like, I smelled my grandfather's pipe. I don't even know how long, for years, because I was devastated when he passed. But I would just keep smelling it for years. And I think when I got to like in my high teens, it slowly diminished. Now it
was that
back.
Comforting? Was it comforting to you, or yeah?
God, yeah.
See, and it was just, and again, you would wonder, but you would also wonder if there was 5 other people in the room and they also smelled it. You know, then you would perceive that, okay, the smoke is actually there. It's actually manifesting actual smoke or the smell of smoke, rather than having to wonder if you're in a room by yourself, was it really there, or did they just make your brain perceive that it was there? But this is the deal. Instead of picking one, why can't we just say, well, we can't understand it yet, but it could be both. It could, depending on what it wants to do. If it's whatever it is or whatever they are, it knows to come to Tom and say, this is what's going to work for Tom. He's analytical. He's got obviously a brain on his shoulders. He's worked with electronics and you know, havoc and all these different things. I mean, he's got this wide range, mostly very very physics minded, very engineering minded. Let's show him something that he can understand. Whereas Betty Lou over at apartment AB or whatever can only handle the smell of her grandmother's perfume a little at a time. You see what I mean? Or like that famous abduction case, I forget the name of the people. I guess it's not that famous. But Betty and Barney Hill was a totally different dealio. Okay. That was amazing to me. Oh my gosh. When I was a kid and saw that, you know, I thought what brave people, you know, and the way it was portrayed and everything. And I just like, why can't we believe people that this is happening? Why do we have to put people through so much? This is why I hope to God we never trap an alien or it's possible we already have, or Bigfoot or anything else. So poke and prod it with a stick in a cage. Oh my God. I hope he goes in and out of portals till we're gone. I just can't stand that. But the point is what our mind is ready to accept. In the desert, these 2 people were being abducted. Lots of telepathic messaging going on. You know, the mouths weren't moving, obviously, but they, you know, the woman was extremely upset. And one of these aliens supposedly kind of looked at her and said, look over here. And there was almost a hologram-ish looking angel type creature, what we would consider an angel, with the gossamer wings and the golden light and the, you know, the lovely smile and the very pleasing appearance and everything, to calm her. And I wonder, why in the world would an alien go through so much trouble to do that if it had the ability to put something like that in someone's mind just to calm them? Why did it just snap his fingers and knock them out? To me, it's almost like compassion. Or was it just trying to see what it could do? You know what I mean? What would you think about that? Why is it picking and choosing to send certain people different things? I think it's because of the person more than it is because of the
it's what
alien.
They can think. It's what they can understand.
Right.
You know,
what their mind is ready for understanding, their consciousness.
Because I remember I think it was like the first year I met you. I don't know. But I was in Gettysburg. I had a guy come up to me. He goes, I don't believe any of this. Went,
what are you doing here? Doesn't make any sense.
Wait. First of all, you're at a ghost convention.
Right.
How can you believe they're ghosts then? He goes, well, I found this, I found that, I found this. And I went, okay, how far can I push you? He looked at me, he goes, what do you mean? And I went, how far can I push you? He goes, I don't know, I'm big. And I went, no, with this. He goes, well, what do you mean? I was like, all right. I'm like, give me your phone. I'm like, I can't steal it. I'm right here. You got 300 people that would stop me. He goes, all right. So he gave me, you know, his phone. And I'm sitting there holding it. And I'm flaying around, so he can understand. I'm going to just hold it.
Mhm.
So I gave him the understandings of small, simple tasks. How did the pyramids were made? How was this created? How was a computer now this small in less than so much time? He looked at me. I thought his face would drop, his head would roll, because his head just went like exploded. And I looked at him and I went, "Here's your phone back." He just looked at me and went, I don't know.
But still,
And
you'll have people.
He walked around. He just looked at me. He goes,
Yeah.
An hour later, I saw the explosion just come right back. He goes, "I get you now.
I get you now.
You thought about that for 2 hours?"
Yeah, they come back.
5 seconds. He goes, it took me a while to understand. I went, "Well, you were at a UFO convention. Now look at those pins and understand the concepts."
And again, it's an absolutely mind-blowing map. And I think at the time, and again, again, could you tell me, Tom, the span of time this was? The chunk of time for this map. You said it was what,
2011 and 2016.
It says it right on the top.
UFO it sure does.
2011 to 15.
It sure does. It says it right there. And that's incredible. And you sent me a couple of other ones. Now, is this just a close-up, what you were saying earlier about?
No, this is a bigger pin or a bigger map just of New York.
Okay. And that's amazing. And all of these, again, are fireballs, spheres, and triangles. And giant bones. You have not...
bones.
Can you touch on that?
Yeah, now the giant's bones came from reports that were researched and found in old publications from the turn of the century, back when they were allowed to write things like this, but didn't prevent people from actually putting them in the newspaper. So, and what I was trying to do is see if there was a correlation. Is there a correlation between a giant's bones and UFO sightings? Well, there didn't seem to be. They were seen all over the place, and the majority of the sightings were seen in the cities. And the major cities you see there on the right-hand side is Albany. Then you move over to Syracuse, and then Rochester and Buffalo.
That's incredible. And the giant bones are all the green pins.
Green pins, yeah.
Does that signify one sighting, each green pin, or is it a grouping of findings of the like, is that one report of one giant bone found, or many reports of several different ones?
It could be multiples. It could be the same, but they're from the same place.
Gotcha. That's really something.
Yeah.
Now this one here, is that the same? What are the black pins here?
The black pins are fireballs.
Okay. That's a lot of fireballs.
Yeah, it is. And see the one group that is out in the middle of Lake Huron.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lake Ontario. Sorry.
Right.
That actually is an expansion of what was around Rochester, and I just didn't have room for it.
My gosh. Now here's Jersey. Now I'm sitting right in smack dab in the middle of Jersey. And it seems like along that that whole coastline is just covered.
It is. Well,
and this is only reported. This is reported through. What is your criteria again? It has to go through
the National UFO Reporting Center.
Okay, so that's not just people who called 911 and said there's something flying over my house.
No.
They're not even included. Okay, that's not even included. Okay, that's incredible.
Yep.
That's incredible. And the amount of research and stuff too, it's wild.
As of 2020, looking back through 2001, there were 170,000 sightings made of unusual things in the sky. And that includes the databases of the National UFO Reporting Center and the Mutual UFO Network.
My goodness. Now, neither one of you have ever felt like you were abducted, lost time, and were taken. Is that correct?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of. But
however, let me just throw this out. I don't believe that I was actually abducted, but I do think that on multiple occasions that they have borrowed my consciousness.
Interesting.
Because I seem to wake up some mornings feeling like I just sat through a 20-hour lecture.
That's interesting. That's interesting. And it's not the first time I've heard it. And this is what I'm talking about. This is happening to people that I'm hearing of through channels. And it's all right now. It seems to really amped up over the past, like, say, maybe 8 years, 7-8 years. I mean, really amped up.
Yep.
And you know, you guys, I don't know, maybe you'll want to start a map with that, Tom, and stick pins for all the people that are kind of going through similar things. Now,
well, those people would have to come forward and say, I am going through those particular things, but they're not forthcoming.
That's true.
So that you never find a map with it.
So true. So true. Yeah, because so many people don't want to talk about it. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just going to say, no one wants to talk about it. Everybody's scared, you know, of anything to even say, yeah, I this happened to me, you know.
Right. Let's try it now. Anybody in the chat ever felt like you had a dream or an experience, whether you're it seems to happen a lot in cars too. I know somebody who actually felt like they were taken left the car and was abducted and lost time, but something else jumped in and finished driving the car. Woke up back in the car, driving further on down the highway, miles and miles and miles from where she should have been. What is that? That's like apporting somebody. So they would have had to pull that person out. In this case, she pull her out. She has flashes of the abduction. It was actually one of many she had, like, say, at least a dozen. And so she knew what had happened. But the last thing she remembers is driving down the highway, holding the car. And then when she was returned, popped right back into the car, but miles and miles away from where she should have been. So obviously lost time there. Yeah.
Now, there's no reason to think that the ship couldn't have taken the automobile up too.
Right.
True. It's very possible.
Yeah, and when they put them back down, they put them down sitting behind the car.
That's true.
Said, okay, poof, you're awake. And boom, the person's awake, you know, so that they don't crash.
Be Kind is asking, Tom, if you could elaborate more on your consciousness being borrowed. You said you felt like you had gone through a lot, like you felt like you were getting a download of information that you don't quite recall yet, or you feel like you almost had like a walk-in, like something else took over not your body, but your consciousness. Explain that.
No, I'm thinking that what I experienced was something akin to
she thinks it might have happened to her.
Okay. And this astral traveling, I was not aware that I was traveling, but I think that someone was causing me to travel.
Okay. Neat.
And I went somewhere. I maybe learned something. I met someone, I don't know. And then I was brought back to wake up in my bed, feeling like I hadn't even been asleep, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah, it's very much like, going to, like, say, a seance, or going in to investigate and something's using your energy, the same type of feeling where you get what we call paranormal fog or hangover.
Hangover.
It's similar. Now, I wonder if you guys have ever sat under the stars and just tried to will something to come, and if so, did anything happen? Have you ever tried this together?
No.
Not together. I've tried it
Uh-huh.
a couple times,
Right.
but I think because where I was, I don't think they would come because I would be like right outside of my
Mhm.
apartment.
Mhm.
There's a few spots that I think we probably this this fall. I think I'm going to drag him out if he can stay awake
Oh, how cool! Yeah,
and do
and
something. Because
and just do some mind stuff. Yeah.
Totally
Mhm.
dark, no street lights, just a couple houses, and that's it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
One of the things that I realized when I asked for a UFO sighting is that the UFO sighting didn't come just because I asked for it. It
Mhm.
came when it felt like coming, or it
Mhm.
was the right time for me,
Mhm.
whenever that was. And that if you were to go out and try to force the issue, you'll
Mhm.
have about zero chance of it happening.
Not
I
unlike
have
going
to
into
hear it.
and it's not unlike going into a paranormal investigation,
Yeah.
or say going onto a battlefield, and a Civil War battlefield or anything else, and having the right intent, having a respect about you, and treating the ghost there as just ghosts were people too, and just treating them with the right respect. And we hear that a lot. We talk a lot about that on the show. It's, as paranormal investigators, not provoking, not doing these things, not being a jerk,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah.
And I think it does make a difference. And I think that aliens, as we call them, or and some cryptids, and things that my grandmother said, that dwell in the woods and can hear you when you speak of them, that to me, that's now an understanding of a connection of energy, connecting in, like two things actually, connect, like picking up a phone and somebody being there, and those two people connecting. And I think that's kind of what's happened to you, as well as a lot of other people who maybe, again, like bloodlines or families that have been abducted throughout generations, a little, and talk about it now, where before they probably never did. Can you imagine 100 years ago, people talking? You didn't go to the office and say, hey, my kids were flying around the living room last night. You wouldn't believe it. It's just whatever story it may be. Or just seeing something odd, but I'll tell you, when you got people in a group, people from our generation, Tom, when you'd sit back and maybe still sitting around the campfire when all the sissies went to bed, and they started to tell the stories of, there was that one time, yeah, and that's when we learn so much. And I think that we really, catch the first grips on this, and our minds just get intrigued by camp story, stories around the campfire, or those stories when the older folks used to tell us about, the boogeyman, or the time that the piano played by itself, or when somebody saw Aunt Betty in the mirror. There was plenty of that. They covered mirrors with the sheets so the soul wouldn't get trapped, and all these other different things. But the UFO stories and the alien stories and things like that, I think, really didn't start coming out. They showed up in pictures, like you said, Tim, early, like here they are. We heard murmurings about things with Area 50, 51, and, the Roswells, and all the different things that happened. But I think it's here recently that people really started talking about it and try to figure it out, like since, like, say, the 60s, or throughout the 70s and 80s, and I think we're just scratching the surface. Tom, you said that, I believe I heard you say that you knew somebody that's had implants, and you talk to people that have had abductions, and maybe have a little bit more remembering of the downloads and stuff like that. it's been an amazing journey for you, and you still feel like you're still learning, right?
Oh, geez, I haven't even scratched the surface.
I know. Yeah.
But
it's the willingness to try to understand and the wonderment. I still see it. I see it in you, and you found a way to make it make sense to you for your mind and for a lot of us to look at. But Tim, and you're open-minded with everything. And I see you talking at the conventions and people that come up. I mean, the first time I came up to you, I remember you were very understanding. And I think I came back and said, well, I saw a Bigfoot. And you kind of looked at me, but you were ready to listen, and I told at the time I saw a small, what I would consider, I don't know what else to call it, standing in the cornfield as I drove by. Remember I told you the story?
Yeah.
It was in Alabama, Tennessee.
Something like that.
I believe so. But the thing was, being like you, Tim, an empath or whatever you want to call it, I felt it before I saw it. It's kind of like you get that feeling a deer's going to jump out in front of your car, or you just know something's going to happen, or something doesn't feel right. Just basically expanded that and saw that thing. And I was glad somebody else saw it, because I'm like, did you see that? And I think we've been going through that. The difference with us is we want to see that. We want to see something to help us understand. But Tom, I think that they just knew that you can handle a lot of information. And I think you've probably been getting downloads. And then maybe at one point in time, those right two things will spark and bam,
I believe that they're here right now. Even though several of their races have been here for thousands and thousands of years.
I believe that too.
But they're here now. There's probably representative from greatest majority of all the races in the Milky Way are right here, right now. And the reason that they are is that something is about to happen planet-wide to us, whether that is a flipping of the poles or a great awakening of all of the people on the earth, or something major that doesn't happen very often.
Huge.
All of these people are here to witness it.
I believe that's
how
true.
We handle it.
I believe that's so true. And I believe that there's some people, Tim, like you, or who are waking up to their empathic powers, and I predict that you're probably, it's almost like the waking up is escalated in a lot of us to where we're really getting it. Like, wow. It's like when people say you first notice what you would call like angel numbers, 1111 or something like that. The more you know, the more you recognize it and
it's going to happen more.
Point it out, it happens more. And I think that's what's happening with all of us. I really do.
The one thing that I would say, and I learned this very early when I started investigating, as my dad always said, don't expect it. Don't push the limit.
Yep.
Because you keep pushing, it's not going to happen. You might be in a room and you're going to be watching paint dry for the next 3 days. But if you let your guard down, something's going to happen. And it was the same thing with the UFO stuff. Like, I'm like, how are you seeing this stuff? And I'm not. And I'm in the, paranormal. My mind's open.
Yeah, I know. It's mind-boggling, huh?
And just said, stop thinking. Let it happen. And then bang. And I went, okay.
Yep. And that's true on so many levels, Tim. That's so true, because it's the same. When I talk to people and they say, well, I want this to happen. I want that to happen. And, and again, it's almost like we're sending the wrong energy out there that's actually forcing it, not letting it happen. So it might be very much similar to that. If all this other stuff is connected, maybe the similar rules apply. Consciousness, vibration, frequency, the willingness, as Tom, to let his energy be used. I don't recall you ever saying, Tom, in retelling of that story, that you were afraid to let them have your energy. You didn't quite understand. And he said, all you have to do is stand there, basically stand there and be willing to allow your energy to be used to heal this person. I think that's a beautiful story, and I think it's a lot deeper meant for you and your character and what your mind and the way you think and able to put together. I think that's a huge compliment to you, as well as to so many people that whether it be a spirit guide or a loved one or a ghost communicates with that person, but not the other 5 in the room. You know what I mean? It's there's a connection here, and whether, like I said, whether it's energy or frequency or whatever. But I think you guys should do that. I think you should go out on a nice fall night and just sit there and maybe just will it consciously to happen and see if it does. And if not, you got a nice evening sitting outside under the stars. It could be worse, right?
Well, I don't know. I back in 2017, I had a heart attack. And ever since then, I think it's because of one of the medications that I'm taking, but that I am freezing constantly.
Oh, bless your heart.
So as soon as the temperature goes below 85, I'm cold.
Yeah, you're cold. Everybody in the chat sends some nice healing hot energy right now towards Tom and warm his bones. I'll tell you what, guys, I've kept you longer than I promised I would. This has been an amazing conversation. Will you come back and tell us more? Because I know we just scratched the surface on this. Let us know, do some experiments, put out there. I tell my chat all the time, if you want to see a pet that's passed, I mean, go to sleep at night thinking, please come through if you can. Let me know you're okay. Or, little experiments like this. If you like to do astral travel, try it, but don't forget to ground yourself. If you're interested in this, I'll tell you right now, mods are dropping all of the links to your books, and you have 4, if I understand, Tom, that are in one spot and another one that's in another. Is it all Amazon, sir?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you just have to be careful because trying to do the searching. I remember me and him did that. It was very finicky sometimes.
Okay. Well, if not, is there another place they can contact you? A website or Tim for you?
Give it. You can contact my Facebook page. That's the absolute best. I'm on Facebook constantly, and my address is facebook.com/tom.conwell.3.
Fantastic. And the books again, or let me see, I'm sorry, that is the map. So what a terrific map, by the way. But the books again are Earthquakes and UFOs. They are here, volumes 1, 2, and 3, and Going Interstellar. And next time you come on, we need to talk about this earthquakes and UFOs, I believe. We need to get into that too. But, we, like you said, barely scratched the surface. We're introducing you to the chat, this wonderful chat here tonight. Thank you guys for all being here. And some of the things that have been going on in your lives. And, maybe next time we'll get into more of, this earthquakes and everything else and these patterns. And have you ever reached out, real quick question, past globally? Is there anything like that that's a global response place? I mean, MUFON doesn't do that. That's just
no. I haven't seen a database that is readily available globally. It just doesn't exist.
Maybe y'all should start one. Why wait for the other guy? That's a headache for another night.
Website's a killer.
Oh my God.
That would be even like a drastic gun to the head.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? And Tim, where can we find you, hon? Facebook as well, or
Facebook? Just look me up as Tim Conwell. I do conventions. I do a lot of paranormal stuff.
Where's the next one you're going to be at? Are you going up to Sleepy Hollow?
Yes.
You going to the Sleepy Hollow?
I'm thinking of Gettysburg of you, but yes, Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I was thinking. I have never been. I've not been to that one. I would love to do that.
So this is the first time. So
and that's what date is that? What's the date on? Do you know the date on that one?
October 22nd.
Wow, what a Halloween, huh?
Yes.
I hear it's absolutely gorgeous. I'd love to go up there. Donnie Cho, what do you think, man? You know, you want to go sleep? And Tom, thank you so much for taking this time out of your night. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Okay.
I've talked to your
You
son
too.
Many times about you, and I'm so glad you were here. And I'll tell you what, get some hot chocolate and a nice comforter and go out there and go get your UFO. I hope you come back.
Heated blanket.
Yeah, right. Well, good night, guys. You have a good night. I'm going to say good night to the chat. Thank you guys so much for being in here tonight. And it's been my pleasure having you guys in. Have a wonderful evening.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
Good night, guys. Okay, guys, that was something else. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I didn't get a chance to say hello to you. I wanted to reach out to you, but I didn't want to take up my guest time. It's wonderful having you here tonight. A couple of announcements, just some housekeeping stuff. We are going to have a Halloween celebration here. Steve Stockton has talked about it. Sandy has got her wheels turning. She has a wonderful amount of trick-or-treaters, and we're hoping that we can set up something where we can all do something together. I don't know why I am so sparkly tonight. Aren't they wonderful? The Conwells are absolutely wonderful. I wanted you guys to meet them. And if I turn that off, is that any better? Hang on 1 second. I'm going to get this fixed. Give me a second. Pardon my back. Oh, gosh, that's worse. Hold on. Give me just a second. I can't stand it. It's making me crazy. How y'all doing tonight? Good? I just wanted to stop in and say hi real quick, so don't go away yet. Now I've disappeared. That's a little better. That's a titch better. It was a little bit too bright. Okay. Then wear my cool I'm grounded shirt. See my skull? Wait a minute, let me show you. Isn't he cool? You can see him. He's so cool. He's looking at all the herbs and stuff and saying he's grounded. So it's absolutely wonderful having you guys in here tonight. Now, all of the Conwell's books are in those links. And again, check them out both on Facebook. They have wonderful stories, terrific interviews out there. They've both been through so much stuff. We just barely touched on it tonight. I thank you guys so much. So back to Halloween. So we're trying to do something now. Don't go telling everybody. I try to surprise Steve every year, but it's the same surprise and it's on the same day every year. So it's kind of hard to surprise him, but don't tell him. We're going to have a surprise birthday party for Steve. He'll never suspect a thing. And I was dying for a cigarette too, but I try to respect my guests that don't know me very well. Because you never know who's going to like freak out because she'll lit a cigarette, right? But you guys know I smoke, so. And we love each other enough for me to tell you. And if it bothers you, just don't watch because, you know, my cigarettes, my show. So anyway, and if it was, like I say, if it was a big fat cigar, I'd be like, oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, stereotyping. Do what you feel as long as you're an adult. You know what I'm saying? So, Halloween. So we're going to do a little something. Donnie and I are talking. Well, I'm going to have him on, and I want you guys now. Blue, you've been telling me about your story, hun. I think I got half of it at one time and something didn't work or I didn't get the whole thing, but I did hear on Laura's and it's a wonderful story. If you would like to call in, if you don't want to be on video, you don't have to. You just click the little stop cam and I will be providing the link to the show that night. If you guys want to get your ghost stories ready or you know, be kind if you've got a favorite Halloween poem or something that you want to read. She's got a beautiful reading voice. You should hear some of the voiceover work and the audio. What do you call it? The audio, the voices and stuff that she does. It's wonderful. So if you've got something like that, or you have you know, a favorite recipe or something like that, throw it up here, you know, peanut butter pumpkin cookies or something. We're going to be doing that all week. Plus, we are going to do, of course, the Cabin 22. Now, again, I thought about it, you know, do it again, but why not? You know, we watch Christmas Carol every Christmas. Not saying that Cabin 22 is a Christmas Carol, but it does have ghosts, and they all do it in pretty much one night, but just saying. So, for those of you that have not seen it, It's a book that I wrote. I call it a haunted novella, and it was released in a serial series, like like a mini series every, one was like one every week, I think, or one every couple of days. I can't remember, but anyway, just like Dickens did, and Mark Twain, by the way. So it's very interesting because it's a cliffhanger, and then the next one and the next one, and it promotes, So Travis, I know you from somewhere, but I don't know what OTR is. I don't know. Yes, she ran an OTR. What is it? Is this something? Am I getting myself caught up, Donnie? What's OTR? On the road? On the road? What else could it mean? Orange, tigers, and rhinoceroses. What's OTR? Old time radio. Oh, Travis. I'm such a ditz. Old time radio. Yes, I did. I do release sometimes during the week when I can. A CBS Mystery Theater, or what's the other one? I forget. It's even older than that. It's got a lot of Vincent Price and stuff, but I will record those and put it on the reel. Good, Corey. You wouldn't believe some of this stuff, but see, I got in trouble once asking. I think I asked Donnie Cho and Blue and Glenn what they were talking about Betty Boop, and then when I found out, I didn't want to know anymore. So I'm careful about figuring out what these acronyms are sometimes. But yes, I have done that and put the mystery stuff on there, and they are still on the channel, by the way. And I do them a little at a time when I can. But I'm trying to get more shows during the week for you guys, which is, again, brings me back to Halloween. So yes, now I understand what you mean, sweetie. So we're going to do Cabin 22, but I'm trying to do it to where we do like the first. I'm trying to make it like 2 hours a night, and after Steve and Sandy. So we're going to get it all done in 1 week. There's actually 8 parts. It's very confusing. There's a prequel. Then there's parts 1 through 6. But part 6 has 2 parts. So that's 8. Is that right? Donnie Cho, check my math on that. I think that's it. That's correct, right? Okay. So we're going to try to do that. So I'm trying to release it, to start it on, I guess, that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and all the way through. So we're finished by the time Steve's birthday comes on the 31st, which lands on a Monday. So if I do this right, it'll be perfect. Okay. So if you've heard the story before, what we're going to do is we're going to listen live. You bring your own snacks, bring your own adult beverages, bring your own virgin daiquiris, whatever your, hot tea, coffee, beer, whatever that may be. You're providing the snacks. I will provide my own snacks as well. Mine will probably be bacon caramel popcorn. I will provide the recipe for you. Also, Mrs. McGee's apple pie moonshine, both the alcoholic version, which is tasty AF, just saying. For you youngins, that means, American freedom. There you go. So there's also a non-alcoholic version of that too for the kiddies. So that's great. If you guys have any recipes you want to throw up and you want to trade them off, make sure you do that. Have them. That's more of a Monday thing. We are doing guests mostly between now and on Sundays, now and Halloween. But Donnie Cho and I have something well planned for you. It's going to be another, a big, epic episode thing. We don't want to announce it yet, but we're working hard on it. That's that. Also, on top of all that, the costume party, the surprise, the whole shebang, and trying to collect ghost stories and everything else for you guys. Also, traditions that you guys like to do, or maybe you did when you were a kid and, don't get to do anymore. Share that too. All of that stuff. That'll be the whole week of Halloween. We're making it the whole week of Halloween because what good is it to find out about it on Halloween, right? So we're doing it that whole week. We're going to share that, recipes, traditions, memory kind of things. So if people have kids and are looking for ideas or have grandkids coming over, or want to reach out and do it with somebody, they've got something fun to do. Even if it's pumpkin peanut butter cupcakes or, or shut the fuck up peanut butter cupcakes. They look like jack-o'-lanterns. Whatever floats your boat, okay? So we'll share all that. On top of that, I have finally finished and put in the can number 5. What am I talking about? I am doing an extra episode, an extra night, Saturday nights, I believe starting next Saturday at 7 p.m. I am premiering all the way up to Halloween till we do the Cabin 22, Journey's Greatest Hits. And what does that mean? Like the title? Yeah. That's so like the kids on YouTube. Well, nobody's really looking up Journey anymore, but you never know. We could snag a couple people and they go, hey, what's this? I thought it was going to get, get some music, and I got this. So anyway, it's just funny. Journey's Greatest Hits. So I took all of our ghost stories, all of our little vignettes, all of our Bigfoot, alien, ghost stories, ghost dances, mummies, universal monsters, cryptids, all of our little videos that we've watched over the past year and a half. And I put them in 2 to 3 hour videos with surprises all mixed in. So it's everything Halloween, all ghostly stories, all these different stories that we've done over the years that are all scary and Halloweenish, and threw in a bunch of Halloween stuff in between. And I will be releasing those on Saturday nights, starting next Saturday through Halloween. Now, these are nice enough that if you want to put them up and just hit play and put it on large screen at an office party, will do. Family party, kids. The only thing I would say is if like your kids are scared about like some of the Amityville stuff, or there is some crime scene photos in there, you will know ahead of time when I say Amityville's coming, so you can fast forward if you got kids. I always kept it as respectful as I could anyway, but it is a bunch of people get murdered in a house. So it's hard. But other than that, everything is, way back TV. It's 70s stuff. Leonard Nimoy's in there. Scotty's in there. Haunted castles, ghosts of every kind. Bigfoots and Rougarous and dogmen and scary ghost ships, pirates, and the lady who married a 300-year-old pirate. They're all in there, and it was enough to make 5 different shows. So they're numbered 1 through 5. The Halloween, the things that go bump in the night Halloween collection episodes 1 through 5 will be there for you for free to just watch it, to get into the Halloween mood. You're getting the house decorated for Halloween. You're doing some Halloween baking. Put it up on a laptop in the background. I'm not on there. It's just all nonstop from beginning to end. So you'll have that 15 hours of that. So it's also a good way to go back and find the Telly Savalas ghost story, or the Toys R Us ghost story, or the ghost pictures, or Captain Kidd's ghost. All the different stuff. It's jam packed. It's absolutely jam-packed. It's absolutely bursting Halloween. So that's what I have planned. That's what I know can happen. Other stuff and surprises along the way. So don't forget, plan your costume, even if you just want to wear a silly hat and drink a nice apple cider moonshine and watch us make fools out of ourselves. That's absolutely allowed too. As long as you're having fun, and as long as you feel better when you leave than when you got here, I've done my job. But I'll tell you, nobody does Halloween like Cisco. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this. We're going to have lots of fun. And I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being in here. So you'll have an extra night. I'll be in the chat during those premieres, and we can talk about the stuff. And thank you, Vixen. Thank you so much. It does sound freaking epic, doesn't it, sweetheart? I feel like it does. I'm going to just give you a hint how much I love you guys. Last Monday, I did one of those videos. One. It was a 2 hour and 33, 2:45, something like that. It took me from 9:35 in the morning till 11:30 that night to do that video. And I pretty much sat here all day. Sometimes I did a download and I ran and I, grabbed a sandwich, but I have to do a lot of this and, because I work full time. So my whole day off. So there you go. But I think it's good. And I think you're going to like it. And I think you're going to laugh. And I think you're going to enjoy the memories and some of the nostalgia stuff that's in there. And it might be a snippet of an old Halloween cartoon, or it might be something else, or an old Halloween poem, or a ghost story, or whatever. It might be some Vincent Price. It might be some, who knows? So much stuff in there. So jam-packed. And I think you're going to love it. So get your extra bacon, get your stuff to make your caramel bacon popcorn. And I highly recommend, you can do it with apple juice, but it's much better with apple cider. So if you're planning on having those, get your brown sugar and all your ingredients. I'll have all that stuff up. So before we go tonight, I am going to put this up now. Again, keep this in mind. I did this to announce just part 6 of Cabin 22. But it's really an intro to the entire story. So if you're not familiar with Cabin 22, hey Froze, hello love, glad to see you in there, and Sapphire Elf and Vixen Doe, Be Kind, Ann Palmer, and everybody. I know Lindsay's in here too. I think she's baking, or she's cleaning, or she's doing something. What was she doing? She was cleaning her car or something, but she was listening. So she's out there, and I love you, Lindsay. So anyway, here's a little intro. And bacon. Don't forget the bacon. Don't leave home without it. That's for sure. Bacon is love. So here's a really quick thing, and then we're out of here. Okay? Here we go. Remember, it says part 6, but it's really the whole story is about this. And I tell you, everything listed in here is in Cabin 22. The only thing that's not Halloween, it's not in that story, is trick-or-treaters. So here you go. That's it, man. So I'm saying, stick with me, baby. I got you, boo. I got you, boo, right here. Thanks, be kind. I love you, baby. So there you go. Let's do Halloween. What do you say? You know, we got trick or treaters with Steve and Sandy. We can see all those kids, and everybody get candy and all the cute kids, and telling ghost stories with them, and telling them over here. Dress up and join us, or join us in the chat. Again, get those recipes ready, your traditions, your stories, your little poems and stuff like that. Share them out. Let's just do Halloween. Let's make it the whole time, man. We're going to enjoy this story again. Nothing I love more than watching the chat and seeing who gets little nuances in this story. If you've heard it once before, I'll tell you, I've heard it a bunch. I wrote it. And yes, tomorrow night, we are doing Michael Laciano is coming back on with Mr. Donnie Cho, and we are doing EVPs and talking ghosts with Steve Stockton, because Steve loves Mike, and Mike just adores Steve, and we need to get Donnie in here. He sat here all that time, and then I could not find that EVP. It was in there, it just wasn't very loud. So I've got them ready for tomorrow night. We're going to do that and talk a bunch of other stuff, paranormal investigation and ghost stories, and share that all back and forth. So it's going to be great. And I'm hoping that everybody in the chat, like I said, that has heard the story before. I know Lindsay has, and a couple other you with us last time, to help other people along that hadn't heard it. There's so many different layers. I mean, even with Skeet Davis and the damn rats, and that whole Moby Dick thing that was going on, and the whole breakdown of Jeb and his remembrance of being an abused kid, and why he does the things he does, and why his father had such a hold on him even in death. The way ghosts can come back, what brings them back, what makes a ghost. There's a murder mystery. There's a soul collector, an ancient being that's just devastatingly, it just wreaks evil. There's kid ghosts and jumpers and missing 411 people where they just get lost in portals. Some come back but lose their minds. There's deep, dark caves and moonshine and Bigfoot and Rougarous and dogmen and mediums, psychics, you name it. And it's about people coming together that have abilities and not realizing why they're even there. And then finding out that strangers can become very quick, kind of brothers in battle, really. And it's about dark versus light, and kind of being what it's like to be a light bearer or a light grounder or a light worker, and not quite knowing what your piece of the puzzle means and what it really means when you get with like-minded people and all those pieces kind of fall together, and you can kind of see the bigger picture together a little bit more clearer. And I think that's a lot what's happening here right now in real time with you guys. So what I'd like to do tonight, in honor of everything that is going on and in the wonderful music, I wanted to tell you the music tonight. It is in the description, but the first one that you heard at the beginning of this, and I'm going to play that as our out tonight so you can enjoy it. So if you're not quite done cleaning the kitchen or baking those cookies or driving that truck out there, if you're out there, Andrew, or doing whatever you're doing tonight, or just getting ready to go to sleep, I want to leave you on a good vibration tonight. So I'm going to play that out, and I will put your good nights over the outro. So it is Floating Home by Brian Bolger. Lovely tune. Pouring Out, which is my personal favorite, by Asher Fulero. And another one by Asher, Magical Gravity. And what's quickly becoming one of my favorites, even as much as Darkness is Coming by Kevin MacLeod, is World War Outer Space. And that is by Audio Hertz. Great name, by the way. So that's what we're going to listen to on the way out tonight. Post your good nights and your bacon. Don't forget, we got Halloween coming, baby. So get your bacon frying and get your ideas, your wheels grinding, and just meet us here in this wonderful chat. Thank you to all the great mods tonight. Don't forget tpublic.com/Cisco if you want to get you some crispy gear. And, crispy is great. And somebody asked me the other day, crispy, I thought you spelled crispy CRISPY. But you posted it with CH. It doesn't make any sense. What's the H stand for? I said, are you kidding me, baby? Halloween. I love you all. All right. Good night. Thank you. See you tomorrow night for Steve, Michael Laciana, and Donnie Cho. And I love you all. To tell you what, the week is long and these 2 hours go by so fast. Love you all. Good night. Bacon, love, healing light. Keep your lights grounded. Thank you, Sasha Bell. You're a hell of a mod. I appreciate you and Uncommon Belief and Maraid. Wherever you are, beautiful mermaid, I love you. And to Laura, we miss having you around, sweetie. Have a good night. I hope you're well, sweetie. Lots of love to you. Here we go. Good night, everybody.